Mark Thompson had been carrying the small wooden urn containing his wife Sarah's ashes in his car for 3 months, unable to bring himself to scatter them because doing so would mean accepting that she was really gone forever. Tonight, he was carrying the urn into Taylor Swift's concert at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, because Sarah's dying wish had been to attend this very show, and Mark couldn't bear the thought of experiencing something she had wanted so desperately without bringing some part of her with him. Before we dive into Mark's heartbreaking journey, I need to ask you something. If stories about love that transcends death and the power of music to heal the deepest grief matter to you, please hit that subscribe button right now. These stories take weeks to research and craft, and your subscription helps us continue sharing the moments that remind us all that love never truly ends. Now, back to Mark's unforgettable night. Sarah Thompson had been battling ovarian cancer for 2 years when Taylor Swift announced the era's tour dates, and despite her deteriorating condition, Sarah had insisted that Mark buy tickets for the Boston show. "This might be my last concert," she had told him, with the matter-of-fact acceptance that comes to people who know they are dying, "and if it is, I want it to be Taylor Swift." Sarah had been a Taylor Swift fan since the very beginning, back when Tim McGraw was climbing the country charts, and Taylor was just a teenage girl with curly hair and big dreams. Throughout their 12-year marriage, Taylor's music had been the soundtrack to Sarah and Mark's relationship. "Love Story" had been their wedding song. "The Best Day" had played in the hospital room when their daughter Emma was born 8 years ago, and "Soon You'll Get Better" had become Sarah's anthem during her cancer treatments. But Sarah never made it to the concert. She passed away on a Tuesday morning in April, 2 months before the show date, leaving Mark devastated and struggling to figure out how to raise their 8-year-old daughter Emma alone while processing grief so profound that some days he couldn't get out of bed. "Daddy, are we still going to see Taylor Swift?" Emma had asked a week after Sarah's funeral, her 8-year-old mind trying to understand why death meant that plans changed and promises couldn't be kept. "I don't know, sweetheart," Mark had replied honestly, unable to imagine sitting through a concert when everything that had made him want to attend it was gone forever. But as the concert date approached, Mark began to feel like not attending would be another way of abandoning Sarah, another promise broken, another piece of their shared life that he was allowing to disappear. The tickets had been Sarah's idea, her final gift to their family, and Mark realized that skipping the concert wouldn't honor her memory. It would dishonor it. The decision to bring Sarah's ashes to the concert had come to Mark suddenly, 3 days before the show, as he was sitting in his car outside Emma's elementary school, waiting to pick her up. He had been carrying the urn with him everywhere for months, unable to leave it at home but not ready to scatter the ashes, and he realized that bringing Sarah to the concert would be a way of keeping the promise they had made to experience this together. "Emma," Mark had said that evening as they sat together in the living room where Sarah had spent her final weeks, "how would you feel about taking Mommy with us to the Taylor Swift concert?" Emma, who at 8 years old understood death in the concrete way that children do but not yet the finality of it, had immediately understood what her father meant. "In the special box?" she asked, referring to the urn with the matter-of-fact acceptance that children bring to circumstances that would overwhelm most adults. "Yes, in the special box," Mark confirmed. "That way Mommy can hear all the songs she wanted to hear, and we can tell her about the concert afterward." On the night of the concert, Mark and Emma arrived at Gillette Stadium carrying Sarah's ashes in a small wooden urn that Mark kept carefully concealed in a backpack, unsure whether venue security would understand or approve of their unusual cargo. The urn was engraved with Sarah's name, her birth and death dates, and a line from The Best Day that had always been her favorite. "I love you for giving me your eyes, staying back and watching me shine." They had VIP tickets. Sarah had insisted on the upgrade despite the cost, saying that if this was going to be her last concert, she wanted the full experience. And the VIP package included a meet and greet with Taylor Swift before the show. Mark had forgotten about this part of the evening until they were ushered into the backstage area with about 30 other fans who had purchased similar packages. As they waited in line to meet Taylor, Mark felt his anxiety building. How do you explain to a global superstar that you've brought your dead wife's ashes to her concert? How do you ask someone to acknowledge grief so profound that you can barely function? How do you make someone understand that this meeting isn't about getting an autograph or taking a selfie, but about keeping a promise to someone who will never be able to keep promises again? When Mark and Emma reached the front of the line, Taylor immediately noticed that Mark seemed different from the other fans she had been meeting. Where most people were excited and energetic, Mark appeared to be struggling with something much heavier, and his 8-year-old daughter was holding his hand with the protective intensity of a child who has learned that the adults in her life need taking care of. "Hi," Taylor said gently, crouching down to Emma's eye level. "What's your name?" "I'm Emma," the little girl replied, "and this is my daddy, Mark. My mommy Sarah was supposed to come with us, but she died, so we brought her ashes instead." The directness of Emma's statement hit Taylor like a physical force. She looked up at Mark, who was clearly fighting back tears, and immediately understood that this wasn't a typical meet-and-greet situation. "Emma, I'm so sorry about your mommy," Taylor said, her voice carrying the kind of genuine sympathy that comes from someone who understands that loss is real and devastating. "Can you tell me about her?" "She loved your music more than anything," Emma said with the earnestness that 8-year-olds bring to describing the people they love. "She played your songs every day, even when she was really sick. She said your music made her feel better." Mark found his voice and addressed Taylor directly. "Sarah had ovarian cancer. She was supposed to come to this concert with us, but she passed away in April. This show was something she was looking forward to during her final months. I brought her ashes because I couldn't bear the thought of experiencing something she wanted so badly without her." Taylor felt her own eyes filling with tears as she processed what Mark was telling her. Here was a widower who was so devoted to his late wife that he had brought her remains to a concert, and a little girl who was grieving her mother while trying to take care of her father. "Mark, would it be okay if I acknowledged Sarah during the concert tonight?" Taylor asked carefully. "I'd like to make sure she's remembered and honored as part of this evening." "That would mean everything to us," Mark replied, his voice breaking with emotion. "What was Sarah's favorite song?" Taylor asked. "The Best Day," Emma answered immediately. "She used to sing it to me every night before bed, even when she was really sick and could barely talk." Taylor made a mental note, already planning how she could honor Sarah's memory during the concert in a way that would provide comfort to her grieving family, while respecting the significance of what they were going through. "Emma, I want you to know that your mommy's love for you didn't end when she died," Taylor told the little girl. "Love is stronger than anything else in the world, and she's still with you in every song, every memory, and every moment when you feel that love." As Mark and Emma made their way to their seats in the VIP section, Mark felt a mixture of anticipation and dread about what the evening would bring. He wanted to honor Sarah's memory and give Emma a beautiful experience, but he also knew that hearing their favorite songs would intensify his grief in ways that might be difficult to manage in a public setting. The concert began with Taylor's typical high-energy opening, but Mark found himself struggling to connect with the celebratory atmosphere when his heart felt so heavy. Emma was trying to sing along and enjoy the show, but Mark could see that she was also watching him carefully, worried about how he was handling the music that had been such a big part of their life with Sarah. It was during the acoustic segment of the concert, when Taylor typically performed more intimate songs for the audience, that everything changed. Taylor walked to the center of the stage carrying just her guitar and addressed the audience in the conversational tone she used for this portion of her shows. "I want to tell you about someone very special who should have been here tonight," Taylor began, her voice carrying clearly through the stadium. "Earlier this evening, I met a man named Mark and his 8-year-old daughter Emma. They came to the concert tonight with the ashes of Mark's wife and Emma's mother, Sarah, who passed away from cancer in April." The stadium fell silent as 65,000 people absorbed what Taylor was telling them. "Sarah was a longtime fan who was looking forward to this concert during her final months," Taylor continued. "She never got to be here in person, but Mark and Emma brought her anyway, because love doesn't end when someone dies." Mark felt Emma squeeze his hand as they realized that Taylor was actually going to acknowledge Sarah in front of the entire stadium. Sarah's favorite song was The Best Day, Taylor said, which is a song about the relationship between a mother and daughter. Sarah used to sing it to Emma every night, even during her final weeks when she was very sick. Taylor began the opening chords of The Best Day, but as she sang, she modified some of the lyrics to speak directly to Emma and Mark's situation. Your little hands wrapped around my finger, and it's so quiet in the world tonight. Your mother's love will last forever, even though she had to say goodbye. In their VIP seats, both Mark and Emma were crying as they listened to Taylor perform Sarah's favorite song while acknowledging her memory in front of thousands of people. The song became not just a performance, but a memorial service, a celebration of Sarah's life, and a gift to her family who were learning to carry on without her. When the song ended, Taylor addressed Mark and Emma directly from the stage. Mark and Emma, your Sarah is here tonight. She's in every note of music, every moment of joy, and every expression of love in this stadium. She's especially here in the love between you two, which is the greatest gift she could have given. The audience response was unlike anything Mark had ever experienced. 65,000 people were applauding not just for Taylor's performance, but for Sarah's memory, for Mark's devotion, and for Emma's courage in facing grief at such a young age. But Taylor wasn't finished. She made an announcement that would transform Mark and Emma's understanding of their place in the world. In honor of Sarah Thompson, I want to establish the Sarah Thompson Memorial Fund, Taylor announced, which will provide support for families dealing with cancer, especially those with young children who are trying to navigate loss and grief. After the concert, Taylor arranged for Mark and Emma to meet with her privately backstage, where she spent nearly an hour talking with them about Sarah, about grief, and about how to honor someone's memory while still building a life worth living. Sarah sounds like she was an incredible mother and wife, Taylor told Mark as Emma played with some of the instruments in the backstage area. The way you're honoring her memory, the way you're raising Emma with so much love even while you're grieving, she would be so proud of both of you. Some days I don't know how to do this without her, Mark admitted. Emma is so strong, but I feel like I'm failing her because I'm still learning how to be both parents at once. You're not failing anyone, Taylor replied firmly. Grief is love with nowhere to go. And the fact that you're still carrying Sarah with you, still including her in your plans, still talking about her with Emma, that's not failure. That's the greatest love story I've ever heard. Taylor also spent time talking with Emma about missing her mother and feeling sad, but also about remembering the good times and understanding that her mother's love would always be part of who she was. Your mommy's love is like a song that never ends, Taylor told Emma. Even when you can't hear it playing, it's still there, still part of the music that makes you who you are. The Sarah Thompson Memorial Fund became one of Taylor's most meaningful charitable initiatives, providing financial assistance, counseling services, and support groups for families dealing with cancer, particularly those with children who are learning to cope with loss. The fund also sponsored free concerts and music therapy programs in hospitals, based on Sarah's belief that music could provide comfort during the darkest times. 6 months later, Mark and Emma attended another Taylor Swift concert, this time carrying not Sarah's ashes, but a small framed photograph and a letter that Emma had written to her mother about how their lives were slowly healing while still holding on to their memories of her. We're getting better at missing you, Emma had written in her letter. Daddy still cries sometimes, and so do I, but we also laugh about the funny things you used to do. Taylor Swift says you're still with us in all the music, and I think she's right because sometimes when I'm listening to The Best Day, I can almost hear you singing along. Mark eventually scattered Sarah's ashes in their backyard garden, where he and Emma planted flowers that would bloom every spring as a reminder that beautiful things could still grow even after devastating loss. But he kept a small portion of the ashes in a locket that he wore to every Taylor Swift concert they attended, because bringing Sarah along had become their tradition, their way of keeping her part of the experiences that brought them joy. That first concert taught me something important, Mark would say when sharing his story with other grieving parents. It taught me that honoring someone's memory doesn't mean staying frozen in grief. It means carrying their love with you as you build new experiences and find new ways to be happy. Sarah wanted Emma and me to have lives full of music and joy, and the best way to honor her is to give that to ourselves and to each other. The wooden urn that had carried Sarah's ashes to that first concert was eventually donated to the hospital where Sarah had received her cancer treatment, where it became part of a memorial garden for patients who had passed away. A small plaque next to the urn read, "Love never dies." It just transforms into new ways of caring for each other. But perhaps the most lasting impact of that evening was the reminder it provided to everyone who heard the story that grief and joy could coexist, that love extended beyond death, and that sometimes the most meaningful way to honor someone's memory was to continue experiencing the beauty they would have wanted you to see, while carrying them with you in spirit if not in body. Sometimes the most powerful acts of love happen not when someone is present, but when we find ways to include them in our joy even after they're gone. Mark Thompson's decision to bring Sarah's ashes to Taylor Swift's concert proved that grief doesn't have to mean the end of shared experiences. It can mean the beginning of new ways to honor love that transcends physical presence. Taylor's response to learning about Sarah's memory demonstrated that true artistry includes the recognition that music can serve as a bridge between the living and the dead, providing comfort to those who are learning to carry love forward even when the person they're loving can no longer be held. The most beautiful thing about Sarah's story wasn't that she died, but that her love for music and family created a legacy that continues to comfort other people facing similar loss, proving that the best way to honor someone's memory is to use their love as inspiration for helping others find hope in their darkest moments.